Technology. All right. We don't have to be at the end. Do it together.
Ready to go.
Who is zoomed in coming into our meeting? Your camera is turned to the side. Do you mind turning it left? Rotate your camera for us. Can you unmute yourself for me real quick?
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So your camera is, we're looking at you sideways.
Me to turn it this way?
Right there.
Nikki,
That's it.
Alice ain't coming tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, hold on a second.
She called me.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
It's 7 or 8. Alice ain't coming. Alice ain't coming.
Not coming. Else is missing.
Everybody else here, 7 or 8.
Call the Planning Commission to order August 24th, 2020. Please stand for the invocation and pledge. The invocation will be led by Ashley Shoemaker. The pledge I'll do myself.
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here safely tonight. We pray for the safety and health of our community members and our loved ones, and we pray that the business that we do here tonight be done in your honor, your goodness, and in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Establishment of quorum, we have 7 of 8. So we do have a quorum. Adoption of agenda.
Move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Approval of the minutes of July 20th.
So move.
We have a first and a second. Let's vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Minutes of July 27th.
So move.
Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Public comment. Do we have any speakers tonight?
None for public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Old business.
Old business brings us to public hearings that were scheduled last month. The first one is for case number 20 ZMA 275. It's Jason Vaughn. This is his request to rezone an A1 agriculture to B1 business. This parcel is 4643. It's approximately 28 acres, and it's at 4137 Warminster Church Road, Buckingham, Virginia 23921, State Route 737 in the James River Magisterial District. Just a little bit of background. The property is currently zoned A1. This request is to rezone this property to B1. Mr. Vaughn recently acquired this property and the 3 grandfathered commercial buildings that are continuing I'm so sorry, I can't read this. that are existing. There are 3 grandfathered commercial buildings that are existing. The previous landowner operated a cabinet business and offered warehousing and mini storage facilities. Mr. Vaughn is continuing operations of the cabinet business in Building 1, which was included in your site plan, intends to offer storage and office space, which is Building 2 in the site plan, and by way of a special use permit application and approval, intends to operate an auto sales shop and auto garage in Building 3. Mr. Vaughn has completely renovated Buildings 1 and 2, and Building 3 is under current renovation. This rezoning request would allow Mr. Vaughn to utilize the entire parcel for commercial use. Mr. Vaughn is the owner and operator of Vaughn's Improvements LLC and has an employee base of 15 at this time. Rezoning would allow for business expansion and the ability to hire up to 10 more individuals to include salesmen, mechanics, and setup crew. And as I mentioned before, this property was grandfathered. It was owned by Mr. Lancaster, who also ran a cabinetry business and a storehouse, a storage facility with 1 to 5 storage units on that property. This parcel has never been utilized as a residential parcel. There's never been a home located on this. It's been categorized as commercial in our Commissioner of the Revenue's office since the 80s and 90s prior to zoning.
Do we have any speakers here for or against this case?
We do. We have 3 speakers, and they all will be speaking on the 3 cases for Mr. Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn is here with us tonight as well to address any questions and concerns. Our first speaker for case 20 ZMA 275 is Richard Lee. Mr. Lee, if you would step forward and state your district and your address, and please note you have 3 minutes on this particular
open
case.
Public hearing? You gonna do this in a public hearing?
Yeah, this will be the public hearing.
Okay.
Am I ready? Okay. My name is Richard Lee. I live at 71 Little Sycamore Lane, which is a private road off of Warminster Church Road. And my property is, one end of it is probably 1,000 foot from Mr. Vaughn's property. And I'm here to address all 3 of the zoning changes. And first and foremost, I would certainly appreciate the work that Mr. Vaughn has done to the property. It really looks nice. It's cleaned up, and he's done a lot of work to the buildings and painted and siding and everything. And I think I myself and I think our neighbors are really happy with it. There are some concerns that I have, and one is lighting. I would like to see that we not have any all-night lights on the property. It is a predominantly residential area. In fact, I think this is probably the only area that's B1. And I would suggest that we have motion detector lights, and that would be to his advantage too, because if I ride by there at night, see any lights on, I'll know that either a deer went through there or there's somebody back there breaking into his building. So I think that would be to his advantage. The sign he has on the front of his building is a nice looking sign, and but I would ask that it not be lit all night long, because there are 2 neighbors somewhat across from his property, and again, this is the only place that I know of on Warminster Church Road from 56 to Manio that would be business. Concerned about the mobile homes fix-up place that he's going to have. That building is in the back of the property, and I'm concerned about the possibility of putting those homes on the frontage with like for sale signs or something. I did meet with Mr. Vaughn, and I went over what I just said, and I think he's in agreement with everything I have said. One additional concern that I have, that I don't know a lot about zoning, but is the fact that it's B1, and that means we got 28 acres there, and I'm concerned about the future of what he might want to do in the future, and I'm not sure how that would work. If giving him this B1 would just open the door to anything, I don't know how that works, but I'm very satisfied with what's transpired so far, and we're happy that he's fixed it up and it looks really nice, so we're all happy with that. And I hope y'all will consider what I say in the zoning variance. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dan Webster.
Commissioners, Mr. Vaughn, and ladies and gentlemen,
State your name and,
I'm getting there.
okay.
Thank you. I'm Dan Webster. I'm at 3938 Warminster Church, Zone 5. I'm the guy with the white crossbuck fence across the property. I also bought the old Wesley Yoder place 10 years ago. I'm here regarding Mr. Vaughn's property. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Vaughn to our neighborhood. Mr. Lee and I met with Mr. Vaughn last Friday and discussed his business plan for his property and his business. Mr. Vaughn laid out specific plans and ideas. After listening to his comprehensive overview, I have no objection to the rezoning as requested and request that you approve his request. On 275 from A1 to B1, the building for cabinet making and other carpentry work. On the supplemental 276B1 for mini storage of no more than 5 units and to operate a warehouse for said core business of cabinet making and other woodworking tools and such. On the ZTA supplemental B1 for the making, repairing, displaying of small mobile homes that he intends to use to sell to the Yogaville and surrounding community. These will be in, it's my understanding that these will be in the back of the front cabinet making shop, out of sight from the frontage road. It is also included in the above case is for the sale of used cars from time to time. All cars would be out of line of sight at the back of the property. Mr. Vaughn has assured us that there would not be any other non-running cars brought onto the property or to operate a car repair shop. Mr. Vaughn assured us that he wants to have a professional image, and I concur with what Richard Lee said. It has been a great improvement of what you've done there. I really like the brickwork. That adds to it, and it adds to your profession. I concur with what Mr. Lee is saying about addressing night lighting. We would prefer that it be motion detected lighting and that not all night lighting. I'm within 20 feet of his property, so my property, when the trees are all bare, I can see his property, so that's the reason why I have a great concern about the lighting. We would also request that Mr. Vaughn keep our community noise-free so that we can enjoy the peace and tranquility that we have out there. And that his hours of operation would be daylight hours Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. I might state that.
I'm going to have to call time on you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody keep track of it. I mean, it's fine. I know that went over, but
He signed up again for the next case, so he could bring back what the thoughts that he didn't finish
Okay.
when we get to the next case. For 20 ZMA 275, David Ball is the last individual signed up to speak for this case.
David Ball, District 3. Basically, I'm in support of this largely because we really do need business in this area, and he does intend to hire a number of people that are going to give good jobs to them. It's going to train them with skills that they can use even beyond that job. So I think, that area too I'm familiar with, and I have friends that live there, and they're kind of excited with the idea of having more business available, particularly for auto service and the other businesses that he owns. I mean, this is going to be a real plus for that area. It's actually a high level of population in that area, so there are a lot of people there to be served. And I think this is going to be a plus for that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. Commissioners have any questions?
Yes, one question. Does this cover the entire 21 acres of business?
We listed the entire parcel, which is 28 acres. So yes, this request does cover this entire parcel for the rezoning from A1 to B1.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
Would Mr. Vaughn come forward, please? I have a question for him.
Mr. Maxey, if I may interrupt for just one moment, we did receive some public comment via email and voice message. I'd like to read those at this time, if I could, before you address Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Fine.
Okay. The first one comes from David C. Quillen of 4484 Warminster Church Road in the James River District, and his letter states, "To whom it may concern, I have lived on Warminster Church Road for over 40 years, and I am a retired residential designer, builder of nearly 50 years. I care strongly about the cleanliness of my road and the integrity of business owners in the community. I am writing this letter to offer my support to Jason Vaughn concerning the requested zoning amendments. In the early 1990s, the previous owner of the property built the original wood shop and adjoining storage buildings. The property came to be known as Lenny's Junkyard, and it was an absolute eyesore. The grounds and buildings were in a complete state of disrepair and neglect. Since Mr. Vaughn has purchased the property, he has removed all of the trash and completely renovated the interior and exterior of the buildings. The property is now attractive and orderly, offering me a greater sense of pride in the road that I live on. Furthermore, I've personally had the pleasure of working with Mr. Vaughn on several projects. While working alongside him, I have witnessed his high level of commitment to upgrading and beautifying the buildings and property. Mr. Vaughn has also benefited the community by creating jobs from his business. As a longtime resident of Warminster Church Road, I believe that Mr. Vaughn is an asset to the community. Growth is inevitable, and Mr. Vaughn's visions and actions convey a sense of consideration and respect to the residents of Warminster Church Road. I am in support of Mr. Vaughn's future endeavors, and I am confident that he will maintain the property to the highest standards possible. Sincerely, David C. Quillen. The next comment comes from Robert Stanley in the James River District, and it states, "Yes, I'm calling about the matter of public hearing on cases 20 ZMA 275, 20 SUP 276, 20 ZTA SUP 277. It's from Robert L. Stanley in the James River District. We are against this. This is a residential area, and we don't feel that a business should be in this area. Thank you." The next email that was received was from Denise and Stephen O'Meara. Their property is located at 4036 Warminster Church Road, Buckingham, Virginia, and their email states, "To whom it may concern. The purpose of this letter is to inform the Buckingham County Planning Commission of our opinions and desires about the upcoming request to rezone property adjacent to property that we currently own in Buckingham County. We received a letter informing us that landowner Jason Vaughn is requesting to rezone the property at 4137 Warminster Church Road, State Route 737. There appear to be 3 cases being brought forward in the public hearing. It is our understanding that a business is currently being run on the aforementioned property and has been for some time now. Our main concern about any zoning or rezoning is how such actions will affect our property. This is a very rural area of Buckingham, and any changes that would increase traffic or change the overall rural surroundings would be detrimental to our neighborhood. We request that any zoning or rezoning of the property at 4137 Warminster Church Road would be only to represent the true usage of the parcel at this time. We are also concerned about any surrounding properties requesting any business expansion. We absolutely oppose any special use permit to operate a warehouse and many storage facilities on aforementioned property. We also vehemently oppose any and all requests to add a zoning text amendment for mobile home sales office, mobile home sales lot to B1, business zoning district, or any special use permit for that purpose. This is no place to even consider operation of such business. If unfortunately the decision is made to allow Mr. Vaughn to proceed with his request, we insist that restrictions be put in place to prevent as much disturbance to the rural character of our neighborhood as possible. This includes, but is not limited to, the following: a significant buffer of trees and/or shrubs to conceal as much of the business as possible from the view of the road, no bright lighting which would interfere with the rural character of the area, limits on increased traffic, no disruptive activities and noise that would disturb close neighbors, and limited hours of operation. Thank you for your time and close consideration of our concerns. Sincerely, Denise and Stephen O'Meara, property located at 4036 Warminster Church Road, Buckingham, 23921. The last comment comes to us from James L. Branch Jr. at 2375 Warminster Church Road, Highway 737, Buckingham, Virginia, 23921. And it's in regard to the 3 zoning requests on the 737 Warminster Church Road. And it states, to whom it may concern, my family and I, including James and Jean Branch Sr., James L. and Stephanie Branch III, Kayla Branch Jamerson, my daughter, and myself and my wife, Deborah S. Branch, all who live on this road, have serious concerns regarding these requests. Our family is all for small business. However, we do not want to see a mobile home park on our road. A business to sell them is one thing, but a park, no. We have heard all kinds of rumors from various neighbors on the road as to the owner's intentions concerning these matters. Small business to sell homes, yes. Actual homes set up into a park, absolutely no. We have a problem with traffic as it is. Many people speed through here all hours of the day and night. The speed limit is 55 miles per hour. We have written several requests to have the speed changed to 35 miles per hour from Warminster Baptist Church to Route 601 Manio Road due to the 5 bus stops located in curves on this road. There are families with small children on this road. A small business would increase that traffic enough in itself without adding occupants of people living in a mobile home park. A turning lane would certainly be necessary. A lower speed limit would be acceptable if a small business is approved. If the speed limit is not changed, then we vote no to the small business. In the present light of increased crime and unrest in our state, we also fear the caliber of people who may move into our neighborhood. We struggle with our endeavors to keep our roads safe and clean as it is. We fear for the safety of our small children who at this time enjoy the freedom to play outdoors in our yards, the safety of our elderly who are home alone and for years to present have existed with no break-ins or trouble with neighbors on this road. We feel a mobile home park would be an open door for many problems. Please consider our thoughts and wishes concerning these matters. Sincerely and respectfully yours, James L. Branch Jr., James and Deborah Branch Sr., Kayla Jamerson, James L. Branch III, and Stephanie Branch. I think I covered everyone. We did attempt to contact this property owner because they're under the impression that there's a mobile home park, and that is not a request. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Step up, Mr. Ball.
Oh, Jason, the place looks great. I just went up there and looked at it. These gentlemen are right. It looks good. It's definitely an improvement. But I kind of agree with their concerns. We address lighting somewhat in the conditions.
Okay.
It has to be pointed downward, away, and it shouldn't run all the time.
We have motion lights already.
Let me finish. I'm gonna let you answer all of them.
Okay.
Traffic was the other issue we heard here, and I don't think you will have a tremendous increase in traffic because you're not bringing a bunch of homes in there. But anyway, you can address that. The other thing is the 28 acres in future expansion. I hope you get to expand, but I would like for the conditions to address kind of buffer from the road. In other words, I can understand why you don't want them all setting out on the front of the property. And they have addressed it somewhat. So, and then the last issue is noise. So if you would address those issues, kind of the conversation you had with these gentlemen, and maybe we can look at our conditions and adjust.
I'll do my best to touch on them. If I forget one, let me know.
That's okay.
So, no notes. Lighting is the first one. Like I showed these gentlemen, there's already motion lights there. They operate by when somebody drives by, they come on, they come off. They're on every corner of the building. More of security. There's also cameras there, so cost of these big lights, I don't think they do me any good, at all. So I don't foresee any lights being on all the time. I do have a light on my sign out front that sometimes is on. Not intentional, we kind of turn it on, we got someone coming late where the sign is, they see where to stop, it's kind of a, right next to the sales center, we turn it on. It's not left on 95% of the time. 5% of the time, it's right next to the switch with the floodlights, so it does get turned on. Mobile homes being parked out front, not gonna happen. Okay with any buffer you wanna put in, great. Sides, front, back. Mobile homes are tiny homes that are going right in the back. Can't be a lot of them, you know. Doesn't make financial sense to set up any sort of big mobile home park there, just doesn't. Gentleman had a concern of a big storage facility being put up. There's not a market for it, so they're put up 300-unit facility, storage unit thing up. I'd like to rent the buildings I have. I acquired these 3 monster buildings, 5,000 square foot apiece. I just want to make responsible use of the space. Little misunderstanding. I do think we are trying to start some sort of a business there for repair vehicles, kind of goes with the car sales. They were worried about cars being out front between the loop where the trees are. You know, we can have cars set back a minimum of 50 feet or whatever. It's not going to be a lot of them. It's not, you know, car sales are promoted by driving by saying, I want that car. We're not trying to sell cars to the members that live on that road. So I don't think that's a big thing either. What else do I need to?
Noise.
The noise.
Noise. I don't think noise has been a problem. I don't see noise would be a problem. Most of the work we're doing is inside these buildings. During normal hours, we don't really work late hours, and when we do, we're inside the cabinet shop. I don't see how that could be an issue, but I could be open to whatever. I did tell the gentleman they have my phone number. If there's an issue, call me. Let's settle it. You know, let's make it easy. Very easy to work with. So I think they're okay with that. I think both men, even though first gentleman didn't get to say it, but they both are in support of what we're doing with, you know, limitations. So we're okay with that. You know, we're
Don't mind a buffer being put on the
no,
front.
I don't mind a buffer. I don't mind, you know, some kind of, I mean, there's not a noise restriction. I don't see where noise, we can put a restriction there, but I don't think there would be an issue. I told the gentleman that if I do rent it to a shop or somebody that's going to do body work or whatever, that they have to take their mess inside, that I want a clean environment. I want it to look nice. I don't want my place junked up. But I've spent a lot of money and a lot of time making it look nice. But what other concerns do we have?
I think you hit on all of them.
I mean,
Somebody-
yeah.
I would entertain it. I would like to see a buffer put on the front because it's 28 acres. You can expand, and everybody doesn't want to see, you know.
There isn't you can, but there's not a real big, I want to use the space I have, really.
I understand.
I don't really want to expand. I don't really want a bunch more homes
Since
out
we're
there.
turning the whole 28 acres into business,
Okay.
I feel like we need some kind of buffer.
Absolutely.
If we
The
were,
house you have, or the buildings you have there, are they buffered from the road? Are they open to the road?
They're kind of open to the road. They got it's a circle driveway, so we can pull 18-wheelers through.
Right.
Deliver to our cabinet stuff. But I think we're, 125 feet off the road. And then the 2 buildings right there, there's no real tree. There's a line of trees, but it's cut up nice where it's cleaned up, where you can see the front of the buildings, which I've redone and made look nice. There's a buffer on the
Usually
right
the
and
purpose
left.
of the buffer is so you cannot see
That's not the case. It's
in the front, but how about around the remainder of the 28
oh,
acres?
we're right about the center of the property, or the site plan
And so
shows
it wouldn't
pretty
hurt
well.
you to go either side with a 50-foot buffer.
No, sir.
That answer your question?
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's all oak. It's
Very, very nice hardwoods there. Yes.
they're all, around the buildings. And he's got them thinned out and looking nice up front. I wouldn't like to see anything in front of those buildings. I wouldn't mind looking at the buildings. They look nice. But now, if you stick something out front, let's say, halfway decent, you can stick junk cars out there to look bad, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't like to see anything go in front of those buildings.
What do you want for a buffer though? For like a tree, you want, trees?
The natural.
Or do you
I want the
a
buffer all the way down
fence?
to 28 acres.
You mean on the sides and the rear? Or are you talking about planting more trees at the front property line that fronts Warminster
Yeah.
Road?
All right, you answer this question. If he expands down the road and you really get, busy, and he has to move down and store some of his, trailers, mobile homes,
Well,
I would like a buffer on it. I don't mind him expanding in the back, but I don't want a bunch of mobile homes down the road where you
now
can see
remember,
it.
the mobile home, mobile sales lot is only what he has for sale, not a storage for trade-in.
That's what I'm
trade.
asking. It's,
But generally, it's not the intent of our planning commission and our board to allow for storage of these types of facilities because cars that do not run, trailers that may not be for sale would constitute almost a junkyard of sorts. So I know that in conversations prior, it has been that this lot would not become a trade-in lot of sorts where he would store.
that's fine. That's fine. I just didn't understand what could happen there being it went from
And those would
A1 to
be,
B1.
right, and those would be conditions, specific conditions to the request for the mobile home sales lot and office that would need to be imposed by the planning commission and recommended as well. So
10-4, you don't need a
they're
buffer
good
there.
points.
Up there front, around it, if you want to put one around the edges.
I think the front should be just left just the way it is and the buffer supply both sides.
Yeah, I mean.
Get the power line down the front right here too, so if you got power line, he ain't gonna be able to put much out.
Gotcha.
See on the front? That's your power line going down through the middle.
Fine with me. I'm just trying to address the issues that came up.
What you saying right now that the all around the backside is buffered? It's already got.
It's
tree.
already got oak.
Already got
It
tree.
looks nice.
Okay.
It's the natural landscape. It's hardwoods they could be cut, but I have no intention of cutting 28. So we can. We could, institute a buffer of around the building now, 50, and if the footprint grows, that the buffer grows. I have no problem with anything like that. No problem with a buffer on the front. My intent is not to make this an eyesore, nor to make it way bigger than it is,
I understand.
Things
My
do
point-
change. I
Yeah,
understand.
if you expand, which I hope you do, because that'd be good for business, good for the people in the area.
And I think if I
I just didn't
expand
want it
this-
to, look bad from the road.
Okay.
Looking at your buildings is fine.
Anybody else have any questions of him? Have any motions?
I'll make a motion to move it on to the Board of Supervisors.
I second that motion. It sounds like he's done a very good job talking to the neighbors. He's already cleaned up. I think he's made a aggressive effort to make it improve the situation, appearance, aesthetics, and he's already gone to great lengths to resolve issues with the neighbors and even saying he, gave him a number to call. So, yes, I think it needs to be moved forward. I agree.
Have a first and a second. Let's vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Moves forward. Next case.
The next case is 20 SUP 276. It's Jason Vaughn once again. It's at 4137 Warminster Church Road, State Route 737, the property we just spoke about. This particular request is a request for a special use permit to operate a mini storage facility unit. Mr. Vaughn, as I mentioned before, acquired this property, and there are 3 grandfather commercial buildings. This is specifically building number 2, which he was intending at the time of application to offer warehouse storaging and possibly office space in this particular building. And remember, the first case, 20 ZMA 275, is the request to rezone to a B1. Should that pass, this next case falls into place because in a B1 zoning district, a special use permit could be obtained to operate the request that he has for us today. We do have 3 individuals sign up to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's open the public hearing for it.
The first one will be Richard Lee, followed by Dan Webster, and then David Ball.
I think I addressed all 3 of these at the beginning. Richard Lee, 71 Little Sycamore Lane, which is a private lane off of Woolman Road. I think I addressed all 3 of these at the beginning, but I would like to comment on the buffer. His property sits in the middle of woods, and I don't know the length of the frontage, but on either side is woods, and in the back is woods. And so the only thing is facing the road is his 2 buildings, which he's fixed up very nicely. As far as a buffer, if somebody wanted a buffer, I would think that just planting some cedar trees out front and letting them grow would buffer it very well, both lighting and sound and whatever other issues people have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lester.
Dan Webster from 3938 Warminster. I think I addressed this already. Mr. Vaughn has said that he'd only intended to have these 5 storage units and that he wasn't planning on expanding that at all. And I'm in agreement with that. I got no problem with that, and or the other building that he has there. I understand that, you know, in the cabinetry business that you may make additional cabinets for show and tell, let's say. Got no problem with him having the other building there to have a show and tell of the type of work that he does and the type of wood that he works with and so on. So I've got no problem with it as it is. Like I said, I'd agree with it.
Thank you, sir. Oh.
David Ball, District 3. I do believe, I mean, cedars would be native and natural, but they are kind of slow growing, and it would take a number of years for them to accumulate any size to be a screening. And typically, in my experience from land development, trees like arborvitae tend to grow quicker, make a much better screening buffer, offer a much better, denser sort of screening material as far as, you know, a visual blockage of what you would see. So I think that as a preferred species would probably be a better tree. As far as the storage, I think, you know, any business, if you can store inside, it's much better than outside. You have less deterioration of your materials, whatever you have supplied. And of course, you know, it can be converted to a more functional use in the future, which sounds like something he wants to do. You do need business in this area, and since the first part is hopefully going to be approved, you get the zoning change that you need, you really do need business. It's an area that definitely would be well served by the businesses, and so anything you can do to bring business into the county has to be a plus. I mean, you have to look at it in terms of the health and economy of the county. You want to have business, you want to have good business people, you want that to be well established, and I think he's going to be a good member of the community. I know people in that area, and I've had good insight into this, so I think, you know, you've got a good guy here.
Thank you.
That's all the speakers for this particular case, Mr.
Any
Chairman.
commissioners have any questions?
Just a comment to the board. The buffer is out because as Nikki explained, you know, if he expands, he's got to go and get an expansion. So I don't think you need cedar trees up there. I think you can look at the buildings, they look nice. You know what I'm saying? So the buffer, as far as what we passed initially, is out. And the only thing I was thinking about, if he's going to expand down the road, maybe have a buffer between whatever he stored in the back. But that's not going to happen unless he comes back before the planning commission. Would you like to make a comment?
Just for clarity, there's 5 small storage units that we're talking about, but there's also these other big buildings, and the original intent was not only to use the small little storage buildings. I got bigger buildings also for, let's say, for instance, if Chet needs a man cave and he wants to store some stuff and work on a car, that he can rent one of the 20 by 50s. So limiting me to 5 is not maybe, limiting me to the buildings I have, acceptable. I don't know that 5, those little storage buildings, is really what I was shooting for. I was shooting for, you know, storage of, a lot of people don't have a garage or the space or the funds to do so. So I had these 3 buildings, and I got spaces cut off in these to accommodate people and things, like I showed y'all, more than just the 5 little things. And the buildings are done really nice. We play ping pong in one of them,
But they were going to be in the back.
yeah, they're the existing buildings.
Yeah.
It's just more than the,
Yeah, they look
I don't want
fun.
you to limit me to 5 and want to be renting one of the big things, that's all. So.
No, I think they're fine. I mean, from what I saw, they look good.
I got something I want to say. We're making a change to a B1, but yet we're dealing with a A1. I think we're a little bit further ahead than what we should be. To me, I think we ought to hold this until next month to make a decision on it. When it becomes a B1, then you are doing what is actually asked for. Right now, you're making a change in A1 and calling it B1. We're not really there.
Can we make it in
And-
contingent that it turns to B1 so you don't have to? I'm just asking the question.
I don't know. I'm just saying that if we hold it over, but don't table it for next month, and then
But how long
that-
before the board votes on it?
You can take no action at this point. We've held the public hearing, but remember to bring this one back. The first case will only be introduced, what is this month? August. So it'll be introduced in September. If the board finds it favorable, they'll schedule a public hearing in October. The earliest that we would bring back the other 2 cases would be our October regularly scheduled planning commission meeting, which is the 4th Monday in October. And that's if the board doesn't table it to consider it.
Well, then if the board didn't pass it, it'd be a waste of time anyway, because it doesn't have B1, is what I'm saying.
I understand.
I'm not saying anything wrong with any of this. I'm just thinking we're going in the wrong order at this time.
I don't know necessarily it's wrong order, but you feel that the case 275 should be presented first and table this particular to come back after a final decision with case 275?
That's what I'm thinking.
How does
because
that fit into your timeline?
that mess y'all up?
You wouldn't be going before us again until November, did you say, Nikki?
October.
He wouldn't
October.
he wouldn't be able to come back until October at the earliest.
And then we'd have to go for a public hearing in November.
No, that would be our public hearing.
We're gonna
We've
have.
already, we're having a public hearing.
Okay.
We just have to vote on it, in my opinion,
Right.
and then send it back to the board.
Does that mess your timing up in any way?
Just
Jason, will you take them, please?
I'll do whatever needs to happen. When this came up, I talked to Nikki. Nikki said I had till 12 o'clock the next day to get everything ready. So we got all these forms ready, a site plan and everything, in less than 24 hours, back to her. And then she held us up a month to make sure that she had everything right and to make sure that she was going about it the right way and talking to different people in the community to present it correctly. So I'm already back a little farther. This is up to me. I'd like to push forward. I mean, even if the B1 passes, the B1 passes, all this shot anyway, right? So
No. Right.
it's up to y'all. I'll follow the rules, whatever they are.
Can Mr. Wright shed light on whether we can do, can we pass it contingent it does change to B1?
And Mr. Wright, could you come to the microphone?
I mean,
Please.
I don't know what's legal here. I wouldn't like to hold him up if we think he should, go ahead with all of them.
Make sure that I understand. You're talking about the case you just had the public hearing on, right?
Yes, sir, the first one.
And Mr. Allen is asking to, you talking about which one, Mr. Allen?
Talking about the second one,
I'm sorry.
where it's talking about the warehouse, the mini storage facility.
But isn't that the one you just,
The first case,
Yes, we have done it.
275 for the request to
Already voted.
rezone, that's the one that they want to push forward. But the
Already.
276 and 277, I
had the
believe.
public hearing on it, there's no reason you can't continue it for a week, till your next official meeting, and you take what action you need to it. That you had your public hearing on it, you don't need to re-advertise it for a public hearing.
I understand that, but we have to wait because of the first one, we send it on to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, that was gone.
I understand that, but until they complete and say it's okay, turn it to B1, these other two are changing B1.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with
Danny
you.
made a very good point,
Right.
but I think legally, can we, in contingent with
Contingent upon.
approval,
You can.
Okay, let's do that.
let's do that. I don't want them to wait.
Couldn't you just make the approval contingent on the first application for making it B1?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
It's-
That's what I
It's
tried to
automatically,
say.
it's automatically there anyway, so, I mean, if it doesn't, first one doesn't pass, second one, third one,
Exactly.
Right.
be irrelevant.
Splitting hairs there.
Reword your motion.
I make a motion that we go ahead and look at these last two cases. What case is this, Nikki?
276.
We're in the public hearing of case 20 SUP 276 right now, Mr. Maxey.
276, that we go ahead and do a contingent approval on it, providing that the first case we heard tonight is approved. And I make a motion that we move it on.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's vote. All in favor, sending it on, raise your hand. Unanimous. Next case.
Mr. Chairman, our next case is case number 20 ZTA SUP 277. Once again, our landowner and applicant is Jason Vaughn. It is for tax map 4643 with the 28 acres on 4137 Warminster Church Road, James River Magisterial District, State Route 737. This request is to add a zoning text amendment for mobile home sales office, mobile home sales lot to a B1 zoning district and apply for a special use permit for that purpose. Mr. Vaughn, of course, is here tonight to address any questions that we may have, and he may specifically want to address where he intends to have this. I know on the site plan, we had building, if you're facing the property, building 1 is the cabinetry, building 2 would be the warehouse, building 3 would be the auto sales and garage, and I believe these mobile home sales lot would be located behind building number 1.
We'll open the public hearing.
And we do have 3 people signed up. And those are Richard Lee, Dan Webster, and David Ball.
I want to clarify something. I don't really think it needs a buffer in the front. I was just saying that he could put some sort of evergreens up there to satisfy the O'Mealy's, which are, the property is right across the street. The second thing is, in respect to Mr. Ball, I hope we don't have a lot more B1s applied for Warminster Church Road. I would really fight that tooth and nail. I think this is fine. We're a residential area. We're satisfied with the residential area, and I don't want to see any more B1s or commercial properties on our Warminster Church Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Webster?
I concur, Dan Webster, 3938 Warminster, District 5. I concur with what Mr. Lee is saying. Our only concern, or our biggest concern, is reducing the residential property values in the area now that we are going to be getting a business. When Lenny had the place across the road before Mr. Vaughn got involved, it was an eyesore, but it was something that we tolerated. I didn't raise a stink about it because, you know, I'm trying to be a good neighbor with everybody else. And Lenny would be there hit and miss and no loud noises and what have you. So with the value of our residential area, I'm of great concern about that. Like Mr. Lee said, we would like to limit any other B1s coming into the road. However, you know, once we're opening the gate here, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube, you know, and I understand that. But as far as the mobile home thing, Mr. Vaughn had said that these are like miniature mobile homes, which I'm not familiar with, but you know, the man knows what he's talking about, so I take him at his word, and he said that, you know, anything that he would bring onto the property, on his property, would be back behind the main cabinet shop, not in line of sight with the road. So I've got no problem with that, but if he sets it out along against the front of the road, you know, then I do have an issue with that. But other than that, that's all what I've got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Mr. Ball?
Yes, last month when he was here, I believe he did say that he was not looking to make this a storage lot for trailers. And you have to understand from a business standpoint that it's like selling cars, selling trailers, they're all the same thing. The more you have on the lot, the more of your money you've got tied up in it. And if you're not moving that inventory, then you're losing money, and that can be fatal. So what I heard him say last month was he doesn't intend to have but maybe 1 or 2 trailers because he doesn't want to be a storage facility. And maybe you can put a restriction that limits the number that he stores on the lot, as opposed to, you know, restricting him from actually using it for that purpose. And I don't really think that this area is going to be overly taken over with business. I know it is predominantly a rural, very wooded and sparse area in some parts, but when you get down around Yogaville on the backside of some of the other roads around there are quite a few people. So I think, you know, rather than having to drive to Dillwyn or to Nelson County or some other place, if people have business right there that they can rely on and count on, people are going to go there for business. It's going to be good for the county because it's going to add revenue to the county. It's going to add jobs. So everything you see about what he's proposing has a positive aspect to the county, and there really isn't anything negative. I don't see that there's a great horde of people running to open business in the county. So every opportunity you have for somebody who's looking to bring business in and do something positive for the county, I think you really should get behind it. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. That will close the public hearing. Any of the commissioners have any questions?
This is another one that's gonna have a contingency.
Contingency, right.
That's the last one.
Do I have a motion then?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor of pushing it on, contingent upon, say aye. Aye. Raise your hand. Okay, unanimous. Next case.
Our next case this evening is 20 ZTA SUP 278. Our landowner and applicants are Jason and Corey Meeks. The tax map is 207 parcel 3. It contains approximately 10.38 acres, and it's located at 1979 South James Madison Highway, Farmville, Virginia 23901 on Route 15 in the Curtisville Magisterial District. The request of Mr. and Ms. Meeks this evening is to add a zoning text amendment to an A1 agricultural zoning district for a professional service office and apply for a special use permit for that purpose. A bit of background on this property. This parcel was previously owned by Mary Bates, and in August of 2000, the rezoning request from A1 to B1, 100 feet parallel to State Highway 15, was approved. Thus, the operation of the store could continue, but the farmhouse behind the store would retain its A1 zoning. Mr. Meeks will operate a professional service office, real estate sales and service in the farmhouse behind the store. The zoning ordinance does not currently include professional services office as a use that may be permitted, and this application is a request to add this use by special use permit. Mr. and Ms. Meeks are both with us this evening to address any questions or concerns.
That will open the public hearing.
We have one speaker signed up for this case, and that's David Ball.
David Ball, District 3. I think that, Jason Meeks is doing a lot to improve that property. It's property that once was sort of active and it's been somewhat vacant for a long time. He got the Amish to open up a store there. And honestly, he moved into the Curtisville district. So we're really plussed about that. I'm very happy that he has. I think that if he opens his real estate business there, it sets back off the building. It's an area, you've got the trash thing and a church, and you don't have a whole lot right on top of him. You do have a couple houses next door, but overall, using that for a real estate business and having the limited amount of traffic, I think, this is something that works well for the community. I mean, he's already there. He's actively working, finding ways to make improvements with the little store that you approved that's already functioning and doing quite well. And so you have to look at, he wants to set himself up in the community as a business leader and give the man a shot. I mean, he has a right to do that, and I think you need to get behind him, support him, and give him an A-OK. All right? Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. Any of the commissioners have any questions of Mr. Meeks?
I like the idea of keeping it A1 and just go under home-based service business. I know depending on how you look at it in this thing, but I don't think we have an actual definition of how it's made, but we got under A1, home-based service business. Why can't this be a home-based service business and then just keep it under A1 and not change it to B1? My question, that's all.
Well, Mr. Allen, in our zoning ordinance, home-based service business or home-based occupation would not allow for the traffic in and out of the business. It also is retail in nature, and if there's a retail in nature business that wants to be classified as home-based occupation, it is not allowed. It would have to apply for the correct zoning or the special use permits within that zoning district. So unfortunately, his request does not constitute a home-based business in an A1 zoning district.
Are you saying because too many people would be coming back and forth?
I did not specifically pull it, but it lets you know how many people can work there, who can be from the home, who cannot be from the home, if there's a number of traffic in and out, and if it falls under a retail services business, it does not qualify for home-based service business.
Might be something we need to work on. Anyway. Got it in there, but it can't never, it hadn't been used for a long time.
Address.
Go ahead.
Yeah. When we bought this property several years ago, I came to the then zoning administrator for the county, and I told him I wanted to use this building, this house, for my office. I was told at that time I was fine. I didn't need to do anything with the county. I came to the county first to ask, is there anything I need to do? And I was told I was fine. I did not need to. So thus, Nikki contacts me, and we're here. I do not live at this property. This is where I want to put my business. I mean, this is where I want to have my office. So, I mean, it's, as far as who is there, it's me, my assistant, my wife. We don't have a lot of in and out traffic. When I deal with people with property, I'm going to go meet them at the property. We get a few people that come to the office, but as a high traffic, we're not a high traffic business. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Meeks? Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we approve this and move it on to the Board of Supervisors.
I second.
Have a first and a second, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, it moves forward to the board. Thank you, Mr. Meeks. New business.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, under new business, we have an introduction of case 20 SUP 279. In this case, the landowner is Charles Jackson of 785 Sleepy Hollow Road, New Canton, Virginia 23123. The applicant is Frederick Jackson, 113 River Court, Apartment A, Charlottesville, Virginia 22901. The tax map and parcel in question is 54-177A. It contains approximately 6/10 of an acre. It is located at the 785 Sleepy Hollow Road, New Canton, Virginia 23123 in the Marshall Magisterial District. It's currently zoned A1. His request tonight is to obtain a special use permit for a private park and playground. As I mentioned, the property is zoned A1. The zoning ordinance does not list private parks playground as a permitted use. However, within the A1 zoning district, private parks playgrounds may be permitted in the Buckingham County and the Board of Supervisors by a special use permit following recommendation by the Planning Commission. Mr. Jackson, Frederick Jackson, the applicant, is here tonight along with his father, Charles Jackson. They've joined us via the Zoom capability tonight. So he's available to address any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do any of the commissioners have questions of Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Let me ask you
Sorry,
a
you said
few
you had a
then.
question for me?
Pardon me?
I said, I'm sorry, you said you had some questions for me?
I'll ask you a few myself. What is your time frame on opening?
No, we don't have a particular time frame right now. Once we are approved, we are a nonprofit foundation, so if we are approved, that's when we can start the process for funding and things of that sort. I didn't want to apply for funding and get approved and, without having a special permit application approved first.
Okay, I didn't want to mess up some time and you had with loans or something, such as that, where you had to do something by a certain date. You don't have any of that right now, is that correct?
That is.
In reading your description of what it is you want to do,
I mean, I commend you for the generosity and the good citizenship, I guess we'd have to call it, of what it is you're doing. I did not see anything in there about counselors, supervisors, someone to look after the children that are gathered here. Is there anything in your plan to, have you thought about that?
Yes, absolutely. We have certified mentors. We have certified mentors. We have about a staff, or including volunteers, of about 35 people. You know, it's a very, being that it'll be a private space, it's more so for, you know, special workshops, special events. And we have a organizational van, company van, which we'll transport in, transport out. So it's not like it will be open the entire time. It's not like a hangout spot. It's not
Hey, well, that's good. That's
that
great. That's what my concern was, that here we have a lot in the middle of the woods, and, I mean, you know the conditions of the world as well as I do. It's just not a good idea now without somebody with some authority being with these children.
Yeah, we are always like 4 mentees paired with at least 2 mentors.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. I notice in your drawing sketch, you call the welcome wall. That'd be the first thing you'd see when you got there, which would have your name of your organization and your logo on it. It can almost be construed as a sign, and I think the largest sign that you can have in an agricultural area is 8 by 8. Would that mess your plan up too bad?
No, not at all. I know going into it, there would be some things that I didn't know that probably would change. But that wouldn't, you know, mess the integrity up of what we're trying to do and the message we're bringing at all.
Okay. And then lastly, there's a requirement of a 50-foot buffer must be maintained at all times around the entire perimeter of the property. Best we can figure, the property is 120 feet wide. Now, we put a 50-foot buffer down each side, that leaves you 20 feet right in the middle to try to do something with. Other than a bowling alley, I can't much imagine what else you could do with it.
Well,
Shooting range and archery target.
It's 50 feet up front,
20.
25 down the sides and back.
But it's still gonna cut him right
Still
down.
75 feet.
And yeah, that would give us, that would definitely jeopardize the integrity of what we're trying to do. You know, we would, you know, this is going to be the first of many like community things that we want to do. So here, being, you know, here in Buckingham, I'm a graduate of Buckingham County, 1994. I grew up on this land. I'm going to inherit this land. We have a notion to expand potentially in the future with the rest of the property. But for now, with this 610, you know, yeah, would limit our space. I would actually try to request. I don't want to change any policies or anything of that sort. But if it did came down to it, and we couldn't reduce that 50 to 25 or something less, you know, we would definitely have to work with what we have. You know, the plan is simple. The plan is very simple. The layout is simple. It's a place of peace. It's a place of relaxation. It's a place of empowering our youth to help them just learn some of the love, no ego principles, and just what it takes to be just a decent human being, and just to aspire them to be great. So we could definitely rearrange some of those props, if you want to call them that. You know, we could reduce down to the hammock area and just the library, with the notion again to expand later. I know all the neighbors here. I grew up with them all. They all know me. Some of them are already familiar with the plan. I think they would be, you know, game for that, or lenient towards that 50-foot clearance. If we did try to ask them to move in the notion of reducing that. but, you know, overall, I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to, again, have the youth involved in something positive, something very empowering for them. Again, safety is not, I don't see safety being an issue. It's a dead end road. Traffic's not an issue. Again, it's planned events. So, you know, I think that using community resources, like, for example, using some local farms to kind of come in and teach us about growing our own food, any and everything to kind of maximize their potential in Buckingham County and bringing something back here, putting some roots down to where we can expand on that in the future. But I think it's very important that I lay some groundwork here and honestly just share what's on my heart in the work that we do. So, you know, it'll be 5 years in March 2021 that we've, you know, been in business or had this nonprofit. And I'm the founder, of course. I'm also a personal trainer. I'm a speaker. I'm a mentor. I'm an author. So I just want to take, or try to take this opportunity and share what I've learned while also continuing to learn and have some youth right here in this neighborhood. Like this, again, it's a dead end street. People could walk in, we could transport in. You know, just having an opportunity to inspire them and again, give them that message of no ego and let them, teach them how to live from that natural space so they don't block their miracles and blessings, you know, messing around with the ego and the negative influences. So I knew when creating this, I wanted it to be a peaceful place. I wanted it not to be a hangout spot. I wanted it to be, again, a place of coming together, a place of learning, a place of building this community up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, look at condition 2 and then look at condition 13. We were looking at one says you can't be within 50 feet of anything all the way around, and then the other one says a building can be
Yeah, that's when.
50 feet from the front and 25 feet on the other side, so.
I think number 2 is dealing with setbacks, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that's a normal setback in the zoning, yeah.
That's the setback, and 13 was the special one that y'all imposed upon the last applicant for a private park and playground.
Right,
Alan Perkins on Route 15.
right.
Well, I would assume that you could probably work out the buffer with your father there, couldn't you? Heck, you could probably turn and ask him right now if he would be willing to waive the 50-foot buffer on his side.
Mr. Jackson?
Can you hear
Yes.
us?
Please look at those conditions.
Number 13 is the one we're talking about.
Yeah. And read over all of them. Not at this moment, but if we do move it on, which I think we should, you need to be aware of all the conditions of this case.
I think 13, in my opinion, ought to be cut back to 25 feet.
I agree with you.
What he's
Well, I
putting
think
up-
that's something we can talk about.
And what he's putting up is not permanent
No,
structures.
no.
So-
Well, just get rid of 13 and go back to number 2, because it's already 25 feet over in it. It backs and sides. The front is 50 foot.
When one side is his father's place.
And the front side is father's place, so. is that-
The side, the left side. Look at his drawing.
Well, look at the drawing.
Back here in the future.
Whose land is it? The,
54-180 is his father's, the way I understand it. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Yes, that is.
all right, so who's 54 at 181?
That's the neighbor that we would be buffering.
Okay. So that's.
And then the expanded portion in the back is the back of his father's lot there.
Okay.
That is actually part of 180 right now.
So 54-1, what is it, 17A?
177A. The 54-181 in front of that is owned by Samuel Carson.
Okay.
So, yeah, just go back to John says, a 25-foot. Do away with the 50-foot perimeter. We had a reason for that one.
It was because of the activity on
Right.
that piece.
With
This is
cows is
gonna be a
close
lot
by.
less
Yeah.
and nothing.
No
He had-
livestock,
He
yeah.
had no livestock.
Yeah, it's a little quieter area right there too.
This is, and no permanent structures are on this one, it's just.
But wouldn't the 50-foot overrule the other one in that case?
If you leave it in there.
No, exactly. So we need to get it out of
You
here.
take 50 foot off of the all the way around the perimeter, it doesn't have much left.
Exactly. So
Yeah, you just get rid of number two.
that's
if
right.
you
I
do
mean, we
that.
just need to go back to the original on this particular case.
Yeah. So we're gonna scratch condition 13. Do any other commissioners have any, objection to that?
I
Totally
know.
eliminate number 13. So now we've only got to deal with number 2. Wasn't it 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna build any buildings on it anyway, are you?
And then, yeah, and they're just talking about building,
No.
it's not a hammock or anything like that can get closer.
Right.
I don't know, you couldn't just make it
I did-
25 feet all the way around, be done with it. Being that there's no permanent structure being
Right.
built.
Well, if it's father's land, he might say he don't care.
might-
and-
yeah, he
and
might
then
waive
it'd
the
be
buffer.
zero. That go back to zero.
The 180's his father, who's sitting right beside him, I think he said. Didn't you say that's your father sitting beside you?
Yeah, this is my dad here, the owner of the land.
You're the owner of lot 180, or parcel 180? 54 180?
So you're the owner.
Yeah, I am known.
So possibly he would waive the buffer on his side for you.
He's asking, I'm explaining to him,
Okay,
he's asking, like, say we gotta have a 50-foot buffer around all properties. He's asking, would you be willing to waive the 50-foot buffer, say if it came closer up to your garden?
Well, as long as you don't, destroy the dog, yeah.
He said, yeah, as long as I don't destroy his garden.
you gonna build gardens.
There you go.
Well, we waived the 50-foot buffer for you just now. We took it out of the condition. So we're talking about maybe possibly
25 feet.
25 feet around the perimeter.
25 feet, okay.
So you're gonna change
25.
the
And
other
your
part of
dad
number
can
two.
waive that on his side, but you know what I'm saying, with other neighbors, we're talking about probably making it a condition of 25 feet. Would that be more suitable for you?
Yeah, that would be actually great. That would be awesome. 'Cause,
And that's only for
so we're
permanent
gonna
stuff.
maximize.
That's only for a permanent, a permanent structure. If you want to put a hammock on the edge, you could.
Yeah.
Or something
And
like
relaxing.
that, yeah.
It's just our bench.
Well, the idea, if I can let you know real quick, the idea with the hammocks is, say if, we are approved for this with this special use permit, when we go in and cut out trees, we're going to leave some of the trees up. So, and I'll pick them out specifically myself and the team, and we'll use certain trees for the hammocks themselves. They're kind of like, they're not permanent hammocks. They're hammocks you can take down and put up, take down. We can store them away, so kind of preserve the life of them a little bit more.
Well, that's what we're saying. You can put them closer
On
to
your
the
property
line, right on the line. That would be no problem because it's not a permanent
Yeah.
structure.
It's only talking about buildings. If
Right.
you built a building, you can't build within 25 feet of the property line. Other than that, you're all right.
The only other possible problem in your drawing is the way you have your parking spaces abutting the house right in front of you. You might have to back that up a little bit to leave them some trees or something right across there. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And that space will probably be a lot smaller than what it is on that diagram because, again, we're pulling in Our vehicle, our van is a 15-passenger van. We're about to get a second one. So at the most, we'll have 2 passenger vans in there.
Okay.
And most of our workshops and events are, 10, 12 kids. It's very personal. It's very intimate. That's how we kind of like to help solidify our message of love, no ego.
Okay. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we move this forward to public hearing with the elimination of condition 13, and condition 2 will be dropped to 25 feet all the way around.
Do I have a second? Sorry. Have a first and a second. Let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Moves forward to the Board of Supervisors, or no, the public hearing.
September 28th.
September 20th?
28th.
28th.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Freddie. Shout out to class of 94.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome, sir.
Take care.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right. Take care.
Reports. Reports.
The building permit report has been included for informational purposes, and Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything for you at this time.
Okay, thank you. Commission matters.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, up.
Oh, sorry.
Commission matters.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I have an awful time reading these tiny little prints you used in the Vaughn and Meeks presentations. It would be so much more better for me if we could stick to a standard type like in the last one we just did.
I will not make small print for y'all anymore. I promise.
Provide eyeglasses.
Or magnifying glasses.
Don't worry. I must concur. I couldn't read it tonight either, so I'll do a better job.
Remember these old eyes.
Mine are too.
You're a mere youngster. Okay, now I will entertain your motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.